Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Morning by the Coast, a weekly podcast brought to you every Monday morning courtesy of both YouTube and SoundCloud. Before we get into things, I'd first like to mention, if you want to stay updated on all the news in regards to Morning by the Coast, feel free to head over to my website, which is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Once again, it's morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I will have a link in the description, and if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, there will be a link in the bio. If you'd like to email me any questions, comments, or any general feedback, I will be sure to include it in the show. And my email is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, it's Morning by the Coast. Nope, I always mess that up. mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Let me make sure everybody heard that properly. mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Anyways, with that being said, let's get on with the show. Well, with 2017 wrapping up, it is pretty crazy. I mean, this year has probably been the fastest year and the craziest year in both positive and negative aspects. Grew a lot as a person, started this podcast, which I hope to bring into 2018 and really expand it. But I'm gonna save that for later, talk a little bit about how my Christmas went and just the holiday season. I promise I'm not going to be talking about it for too long. I know the past 4 episodes have only been Christmas related. But I had a pretty good Christmas. I really did. This is probably the best Christmas that I've had within the past maybe 4 years or so. Just everything, being able to spend it with my family, and just the overall atmosphere was incredible. Christmas Eve was a little bit slow, but Christmas Day definitely compensated for the slow and kind of crappy Christmas Eve. The weather has been pretty freaking weird. It's been fairly warm, actually. We haven't really had a whole lot of snow. We had snow really early on in early December, and it stayed for a little bit of time, and then it went away pretty much not even a week later. And it's been pretty warm. It's barely gone under freezing. It stayed, I'd say, probably low 40s, mid 40s. I think Christmas Day was actually super warm, or not Christmas Day. No, the day before Christmas Eve was actually like mid 50s, like very, very warm. And then Christmas Day, it actually snowed. That was pretty awesome. None of the snow stick to the ground, but we got a pretty steady flow of snow. I almost said rain. We have had a lot of rain though, which is very obscure. But today is very cold. It's, I believe, 20 degrees today, and it's only supposed to get colder and colder as the week goes on. I think tomorrow the lowest it's going to be is 1 degree Fahrenheit, and it's supposed to be like 18 degrees, 17, 16. It's literally supposed to descend down, and I believe one day it's supposed to be like 5 degrees. I don't think it's this week, but I think maybe next week. I was reading it's going to be in the single digits, which is absolutely absurd. It's crazy how we can go from having this nice weather in December with some occasional snow here and there, and then all of a sudden, freaking snow. Or not snow, freezing weather. It's very weird. But I wanted to talk about that. Christmas Day, fun. I don't want to talk too much about what I got, but I was definitely happy. The food was really good. It was just good vibes. Good vibes. I had fun. Again, this is probably one of the best Christmas. Actually, I'd probably say this is the best Christmas I've ever had. Almost. Christmas Eve sucked. Probably the worst Christmas Eve. But Christmas Day, best Christmas Day. But this episode is going to be mainly focused on, well, itself, Morning by the Coast, and kind of where I want to bring the podcast and what I want to do with it in the future. Before we get too deep, however, I would like to mention that next week, which is the second week of January, wow, that's crazy to say, I will be doing kind of a reel-to-reel, mainly a movie review. Yeah, we'll call it a movie review. And I'll be going through Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It'll be filled with a lot of spoilers, so if you don't want it to be spoiled, I advise you maybe skip that week's episode. But I saw it opening weekend, so it's kind of been a while since I last saw it. I saw it Saturday, yeah, the first Saturday, and then I saw it again on the Tuesday. I don't remember the exact day. I think it was Tuesday. It was like midweek, early week. And I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to wait for next week. You're going to have to wait. But, so, where I want to bring Morning by the Coast for 2018. And I still kind of have the same philosophy about the podcast as I did since episode 1. This is mainly just a pet project. I'm not expecting it to blow up or really to pick up any traction. It's just something for me. It's something I've been wanting to do for a very long time now. And I look forward to filming every episode every week, and it's really just a great feeling just sitting down, hitting record, and just talking into the microphone. I mean, it's definitely, I will admit, it has been a lot more difficult than expected doing it every week and trying to figure out things that are entertaining enough to talk about it for an hour. I'd say, though, the first 2 weeks, I found it pretty easy just to talk about whatever. But also I was just starting it, and I was still riding that high of like, oh, this is awesome. I mean, I still love it now, but it's kind of sunk in a little bit more the reality of it, and having to actually dedicate an hour of the day. I know it's not too big of a deal, but having to dedicate an hour to, set up all the equipment, open up Audacity, hit record, make sure all the audio is working fine and dandy. If I mess up at all, editing the parts out. I mean, like, I don't watch the episodes myself, but if I'm recording and I notice I mess up majorly, that is, then I will cut it out, or I will just reshoot it. I know for the intro, I refilmed the intro maybe twice before I actually get it proper, although this time I did get it on the second attempt. But, and then exporting the audio can take a good amount of time, and if I add music, and I use Movie Maker, which is like the most basic free software that you can use to make videos, and I intend on getting actual software in the future. It's just for now I'm using Movie Maker because it's not easy, but it's viable and it's free. But importing the audio onto here, and then dropping the image of the actual logo, and then exporting it, and then if I want to put music on it, then I have to re-import the video again and then export it again. I'm actually exporting the final Christmas episode. It's about 80-90% done, 89, and it's been exporting for about, or not exporting, saving for about maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. But things are a lot more difficult, but also much more easy now that I have an actual setup and I have a microphone and I'm using my computer compared to just using my cell phone. But some things that I've been thinking about, kind of new aspects of Morning by the Coast. I thought for a while, and I'm still thinking about it, but a midweek show called Weekdays by the Coast. And, I try to keep these episodes, PG. I try and make it so that, everybody can listen to them. I try to exclude politics or anything too controversial, just because I don't want to, cut off a percentage of my audience just by talking about politics. And, I mean, I don't really swear to begin with, and I don't really, even when I film these, I don't have to stop myself or notice that I'm swearing and having to cut it out, like out of the recordings. But I've been thinking it won't be as long as this. It'll maybe be 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes. It'll be a midweek show, probably uploaded on Wednesdays or Thursdays, probably Thursday, and it'll be like 20 minutes, and I'll focus just on one small topic, whether it's a news article or a story. But it'll be intended for a mature audience. There'll definitely be political discussion along with other, I guess, deemed inappropriate contents. And but I definitely would like to dabble with that in the future. At least maybe try it a couple times and see if I like it. It will be uploaded to this channel, or let me correct myself, it'll either be uploaded only on YouTube or only on SoundCloud. I haven't decided yet. I'm still kind of thinking about it and really just teasing the idea about doing it. Eventually I will attempt to try it, but for now, it's just, even when if I do end up doing the Weekdays by the Coast, Morning by the Coast will still be the same as it always is now. The Morning by the Coast will always be uploaded Monday morning, although sometimes, such as this week, when I wasn't at my computer and I was unable to, upload the episode and struggled to export it out of Audacity and correctly format the audio file to put it into Movie Maker, and it made me kind of frustrated. But I figured out how to do it, and I know what the problem was, so it won't happen again. But, so Weekdays by the Coast is a possibility. I definitely, it's something that I will try, that I'll attempt at least once or twice. And depending on whatever people think of it, then I'll continue to do it in the future. I don't know if it will be every week. I would like to do it every week, but it really depends on kind of the what's going on. And I know with Morning by the Coast, it's a more personal thing. A lot of rambling and ranting, or not really ranting, but rambling, kind of more personal things. I know I talk about movies and pop, or not really pop culture, but movies and fast food, and then obviously stories and other things, and even with reel to reel, that's another segment that's movie related, and I do plan on not pursuing, but keeping the reel to reel for the future. That was not just a December thing. I think for the next movie, which will maybe, I don't think it'll be the third week. I don't think I'm going to do a back-to-back movie related episode. But I think sometime this month, in January, I will be doing Goonies. And I think I might watch it first. Maybe watch it within the next week. Because I feel like with Home Alone and Elf, mainly with Home Alone, it's kind of hard doing it with a movie that I really haven't seen in like however many years. Or I'll just pick another movie that I've seen recently. But another thing I've been thinking about, or I've been considering, is uploading the episodes to Spotify. Because right now, I started with YouTube. And then, once I got my computer set up for recording it, I started uploading to SoundCloud, because obviously you cannot upload audio, or you cannot upload on your phone to SoundCloud. But Spotify, I'm still considering. I haven't really looked into it too much, but it is something that I'm, considering. Another thing is advertising, or not so much advertising, but growing the podcast. The only people who I know watch it are people that I know personally in the real world. And, I'd like to grow the audience on a much more, global scale. At least in the sense of global being outside of where I live, or people I interact with on a daily basis. But, I have some ideas on how to grow the podcast, and, viewership is never something that I want to have dictate the podcast, but, I feel like when you have a larger audience, it's much more inspiring seeing the results of the work you put in. And I've been doing this for going on 7 weeks now, and while the progress has been slow, it's still awesome signing into the account and seeing the views go up. Even if it's just 1 or 2 views, it's still like, whoa, like people are actually watching this, or people are actually listening to this. And on SoundCloud, it's been a lot slower because their algorithm is much different compared to YouTube, so it's not the same, it's not the same thing as on YouTube where you can just find it somehow. With SoundCloud, it's I feel like you really have to search out what you're looking for to find it. But you know, those are kind of the three major things, or two, that I would like to, you know, maybe look into and possibly do in the future. I know a couple weeks ago, if you follow the website, I talked about possibility of a midweek show, and that was going to be the midweek show, like the first episode, and I was going to talk about controversies, yeah, in regards to Christmas, and kind of like, I guess, Christmas scandals, from, I guess, the Starbucks cup, the red Starbucks cup, and I can't think of any other controversies, but that was kind of one that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't end up doing that. But again, midweek show is definitely a possibility and something I absolutely am going to at least try once or twice. So, with New Year's in a couple days now, I honestly don't know how many days. I know it's on Monday. Monday is New Year's Day, and Sunday is New Year's Eve. But I'm not too big on resolutions. I mean, it's fun to maybe think about some things I would like to accomplish, whether it's small personal things or improving relationships with other people, or kind of just building things external, not literally building things, but you know, whether it's, I don't know, buying a house or whatever it is, or if it's something more personal like losing weight or spending more time outside of your house, whatever it is. But personally, I think New Year's resolutions are extremely overrated. It's funny. I feel like it's such a cliche, like, oh, new year, new me. I have all these resolutions. I'm gonna go to the gym every day. I'm gonna lose all this weight. And I find it so obscure because every year, it's like people know it too. It's like every year, 2 weeks in, and their resolution is already gone, and they've already given up on it. And it's like, well, what? Like, you were so excited about this, and now you're kind of just giving up on it. It seems just so like something out of a movie, and people know about it too. People know that they're gonna, give up on it. Not obviously not everybody, but most people. However, they have these resolutions, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna cheat, or I'm gonna have like a cheat day or whatever, and then it just ends up, falling flat. But I guess one resolution of mine, or a couple, get into college. That's probably the biggest one. Being a senior in high school right now, college is a huge thing for me, and I'm going to be taking one more SAT in January, and then I'll be applying to two colleges or universities, whatever you want to call them, right after I take the SATs, and then that'll be it. Hopefully, the two I'm applying to right now are the ones I'm most likely, or two things, most likely to get into, and the two that I want to get into most. I'm not going to specify those colleges yet, but if I do get into either of them, I will obviously talk about that. And growing the podcast is another big one. I would like to continue doing this podcast in the future, in 2018. My goal is to, try and do it for every week. We're on episode 7 so far. That's pretty crazy. Assuming I do one every week, I'll have like 55. Or there's 55 weeks. So I'll have like 60 something episodes by the end of 2018, assuming I don't miss a single week. Although I'm assuming I will probably miss a week. That's just a given. I can't promise I'm going to do this every week, although I love doing this, and it's honestly probably one of my favorite things to do. But I don't know if I have any other resolutions. College, the podcast, explore videography and talk shows or podcasts more. That's kind of just a general thing and something I've kind of just been doing a lot recently. I would like to go to school for videography or just communications. And obviously, podcasting is something that I've been enjoying and kind of listening to since I was 11, and videography even younger. But kind of exploring those, and obviously being 7 weeks into this and only just starting this podcast, I'm still kind of, discovering my voice and figuring out how I format each and every episode. And I'll admit these episodes kind of suck, but this is something I've just started doing. It's not like I've been doing this for years and years. It's something I've been doing for a couple weeks now. Even, even before I started it, when I was still planning it, I was like, okay, this is going to be easy. Like, I mean, all these people that I listen to, they all do a good job. It's not going to be too bad. I'll just hit record and start talking. But then actually starting it was much more difficult. And, I mean, it's not crazy difficult, but it's hard to entertain an audience for an hour. Some podcasts go on for 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours, and it's pretty crazy how, given most of them are not just one guest or one host, it's usually at least 2, sometimes 3. I feel like 3 is typically the normal amount. But as I've said a million times before, I still enjoy doing this. And I don't know if I'll ever have another host or have episodes with guests, but it's still a possibility. I feel like the setup I have currently is very kind of nailed down. It's kind of hard for me to move my setup and set things up so I'm able to film in another location, but I don't want to rule it out completely. It still is a possibility. So if you'd like to hear a guest on Morning by the Coast, feel free to let me know. You could email me. My email is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, that is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. I know I stress the email on the website a lot, and I really do it for a reason. It's a great way to stay updated on Morning by the Coast, as well as giving me feedback. When the podcast is this young, it's very easy for the listeners to kind of mold the future of it, and I want to make sure that this is enjoyable for everybody, and hearing feedback is a major help in doing so. But with that being said, let's talk about what's been going on in my life and kind of the future of the rest of my vacation, because obviously I'm on Christmas break. I go back to school December 2nd. And let me talk about some interesting things that are going on. I'm going to a basketball game, which is, I think it's the Celtics and the Rockets. It's Thursday. I don't know what the date is for that. Let me check, actually. Give me 1 second. The 28th. I used to be pretty into basketball when I was in 8th grade. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, so forgive me if I have already. But I would say early 8th grade, I for some reason, I had an interest in basketball. And I have a really, really nice basketball court that is maybe a 30-second drive and maybe a 2-minute walk from my house. And I would go every single day. Rain, shine, or snow, I was on the courts balling up. And I remember for Christmas I wanted these sneakers. And I used to be really into sneakers. I'm not anymore. Not at all. And what were they called? They were the LeBron James sneakers. LeBron 11s. That's what they were called. I wanted these LeBron 11s. And if you know anything about them, you know how expensive they are. And I asked my mom for Christmas, I said, Mom, listen, I go to the basketball place every day. I've been wearing these crappy sneakers. I want a nice pair of sneakers. And even outside of basketball, they were just, I liked them. I thought they looked cool. They didn't. They look like space boots. Just look up LeBron 11s. They're the blue and gray ones, I believe. Yeah, the blue and gray ones. But I asked her, and she was like, they're so expensive. She told me, she said, if I'm getting you these, this is the only gift you're getting. And I was like, that's fine with me. So come Christmas Day, I got the LeBron 11s. Guess how much they were? They were $250 for sneakers. That is absurd. I mean, now I wouldn't pay more than $120 for a pair of shoes or sneakers. But $250. They were so expensive. I mean, I wore them every day for like an entire year, and I wore them, playing basketball, and they were incredibly comfortable. Yep, they were so comfortable. I mean, like the soles or whatever it's called, it felt like memory foam. They were just super comfortable. They were high tops, good ankle support. I would say maybe the only complaint I have about them was they were very stiff. But, I mean, that was just the design of the shoe. They were supposed to, hold your feet because they were basketball shoes. But I remember I would wear them to basketball every day. And I was just very passionate about basketball for like an entire year straight. I would watch every Celtics game. I was really into Celtics, although admittedly, I was a big Lakers fan for a while. And then I started watching basketball. And this is back in maybe 2013, 2014, when the Celtics kind of sucked. It was right after they traded a couple key players, and they kind of got a new group of young players in. I mean, now they're doing fairly well. I think they're doing well now. I think they're like number one in the Eastern Division, or Northeast. I don't know how it works. I haven't watched basketball in like 4 years, or 3 years, however long it's been. But I would go play basketball every day. I had like 5 basketballs, and I would always bring a new one every time. Not for any specific reason. I thought I was cool with my new basketballs every time. And I would show up in the middle of February in like 20-degree weather to play basketball. It was horribly cold. And I remember the guy who owns the basketball place, and he's a great guy. I respect him super well. I respect him a lot, and he always shows up to the basketball place almost every day. He lives right behind it. He would show up to clean the courts, make sure everybody was having fun or getting along, and he was just a great guy. And the courts are amazing too. They're very, very nice courts. And he would always, if it was the winter and there were kids who wanted to play, he would plow the courts if there was snow on them. He's just a great guy. And we used to, there's a Cumberland Farms that's probably a 5-minute walk from there, and we would walk there every day, get food, and then go back and play for a little bit longer. Not so much in the winter because it was absolutely absurdly cold, but I would go every day. And I'd say probably around mid-March is when people started to actually go again, because when I would go, it would only be like me and my 7 other friends, because it was incredibly cold. I mean, obviously I didn't go every single day, but I would make it an effort to try and go. And I have a basketball hoop in my driveway, but there's something just different about going to the place with nice courts, and it's like I would ride my bike there all the time, and it was literally right down the block. But I practiced for pretty much a whole year, from the beginning of my 8th grade year in September all the way until probably August, Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to, because they had, um, I guess a season or whatever, and you would go to tryouts and you would practice, and then they would host games there. I think a couple days a week. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to play basketball for a team. Oh Lord. You know, when I started, I wasn't good. I was absolutely below average. But I somehow managed to get worse. I somehow managed to get worse at basketball in this year than when I first started. And I know the saying, like, never quit. You gotta, if you want to get good at something, just practice it every day. But I guess basketball just isn't my thing, because I practice every day. I would play for at the very least 20 minutes a day, and as much as 4 or 5 hours a day. Some days I would literally spend the entire day playing basketball. And especially in the summer, I would always go there. I remember going on such hot days. It was like 90 plus degrees some days, and I would still show up and play. And it was just, I mean, I still had a lot of fun going, you know. I still enjoyed going every day. I have a lot of awesome memories and met a lot of really cool people that I'm still friends with today. But I guess basketball isn't my thing, and I like basketball. Basketball and hockey are really the two sports that I enjoy the most, mainly hockey. I mean, basketball, actually no, I take that back about basketball. I used to enjoy basketball, but recently I guess I haven't really had any interest. I do follow hockey though. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan, if you were wondering. Not for any specific reason, I just started watching them and I started liking them. You can't call me a bandwagon because they kind of suck. They haven't won a Stanley Cup in God knows how long. And they always get knocked out in the second or third round. Anyways, I would show up every day, practice. We would play 2v2s or 3v3s. We'd mostly play half court, unless we had 5v5s where we would play the whole court. But I don't know what it is. I just wasn't good. I mean, I was kind of alright at blocking, but shooting, I sucked at. Pretty much any position that involved passing or throwing the ball. I was always shunned from playing that position. I was always a blocker. And I mean, I'm not crazy tall. I'm like 5'10", 5'11", but I was always a good blocker. But that was about it. That was all I was good at, was blocking people. And even then, I was maybe mediocre at best. But I guess I sucked at basketball. I didn't get any better at it. And I've been playing a little bit recently in my gym class. And like I'll just, shoot around. I guess I'm alright. I'm definitely better than I was 4 years ago, but I'm still not good at all. And I mean, really the most basketball I'll play now is maybe horse. With, just playing around shooting the crap, I guess. Or shooting the hoops, is what I should say. But that's just a story I thought I would talk about. The time I played basketball for a whole year and didn't get any better at it, but actually getting progressively worse. But I'm going to be going to Boston for that. That is tomorrow, which is Thursday the 27th. I believe it's 27th. It's either the 27th or the 28th. And we're going ice skating. I have a kind of an interesting ice skating story. It's not really a specific story, rather just my experiences with ice skating. So, near me there's an ice skating rink that's open all throughout the winter. And way back in middle school, it was kind of like the chill out place. People would always go there. And it kind of became a joke, like, oh, you going to, I'm just going to make up a name. You going to Bruins today? It's like, yeah, my mom can bring us to Bruins, and then you can sleep over. Like, it was like a joke. Like, people would ask, like, oh, are you going to so-and-so? I don't know if that made any sense, but it was just like a joke, because everybody would go there. and everybody asked like, "Oh, you going to blank today?" Because people would always go on Friday nights. It was kind of just like a ritual, I guess, for the people in my middle school. But I would go every now and then. I didn't really go too much. I probably went maybe 20 times throughout the course of 3 years. But it sucked. I hated it. I don't know why. I don't know how people could go every single day, or not every single day, every single week, every Friday. It just wasn't fun. It was mainly just a hookup place. It was mainly where people would go to, you know, talk to their, I guess, crush or whatever. And besides that, there wasn't much ice skating that happened. I mean, people would ice skate, but it was either with their girlfriend or boyfriend, or they were really, really good at ice skating. And, you know, me being very uncoordinated, I sucked at ice skating. But, I mean, I still, you know, gave it my effort, and I had fun. And usually when I went, I would go with a family member or a close friend of mine. But I pretty much never went. And I remember one time going, and I had these like blue jeans on. They were like super, super blue. I don't know where I got them from. I don't think I asked for them. I think maybe they were gifted to me. I have no clue how I got them. But they were super blue. Like, not normal jeans. Like, they looked like blue jeans from like a movie. But, you know, I was skating around not very well, as you could imagine. And I kept falling a lot. And maybe it was maybe like 20 minutes just skating around, falling every now and then, kind of sometimes on purpose, or I would do like a power slide. That's what I would do. I would, you know, kind of pick up some speed and then go on my knees. That's what I would do. And then I would usually like crash into the wall, like jokingly. And one time, this is the same night, I took a pretty bad fall. And I landed right on my tailbone, and it just hurt. I was like, ugh. I kind of moved myself. I was already kind of near the wall anyways, but I kind of moved myself a little bit more so people didn't have to worry about me being in the way. And I look over, and the ice is blue. Like, visually blue. And I got back up, and then they actually called us off the ice because, you know, they would have the Zamboni come on and, you know, kind of, I don't know what the term is, shear the ice. I don't think they would shear it, but they would flatten it and make it look nice and skatable. And when we all got off, I looked on the ice, and there's just blue marks everywhere. And I think I was with my uncle at the time, and I was like, "Do you see all these blue marks on the ice?" And I was like, "That was from me." And there's just blue streaks everywhere, mainly on the I guess not the turns, but the actual straightaways. There was just blue streaks that would go for like 5-8 feet. And I looked down at my pants, and they're like white. Not because of the snow, or not the snow, not because of the ice, but because the dye in my pants was, I guess, I don't know what the term is, melting? I don't know. They were melted, or it was mixing with the ice, but my knees were white. Were visually white. Not my actual knees, but on the pants. I mean, I ended up throwing those pants away, I'm pretty sure, but I stained the whole rink. Even after the Zamboni came on, the ice was still blue. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't like the entire thing was just blue. But if you focused, you could notice that there was, you know, blue streaks on the ice. But I'm going ice skating tomorrow. Hopefully I can redeem myself and save myself from the embarrassment that was ice skating in middle school at that one specific location. But, you know, I've been roller skating and rollerblading, mainly skating, more times than I've been ice skating. Or no, actually probably less. But I'm still better at roller skating than I am at ice skating. And I know they're totally different, but I just sucked at ice skating. I was good at roller skating. Like, I got to the point where I was kind of competent enough where I could, you know, skate forward completely and just keep momentum, and maybe skate a little bit backwards, but not too much, maybe for 5 seconds max before I either fell or turned around. But I would probably say falling during ice skating is nowhere near as bad as it is on roller skates on the hardwood floor. That sucks. I remember one time, and this is way, way, way back. I was maybe 9 years old, or 9, 10 years old. And this is maybe the first time I had been roller skating. This is the first time I went roller skating. And I took a pretty bad fall and scraped my shin all the way up into the top of my knee. And it hurt so bad. And I had shorts on too. I know it's kind of stupid of me, but it was the summertime, and I was 9 or 10, so cut me some slack there. But I just destroyed my knee completely, and all of my shin for that matter too, or most of it. And it was horrible. The entire week, I was just, whenever I would go to bed, I would just rub my leg against the blanket, and it just, thinking about it makes me cringe. But actually, I have another injury story that happened actually fairly recently. It's very interesting. It has nothing to do with either ice skating or roller skating, but it's a very interesting story nevertheless. So a couple years ago, I went to Cape Cod, just going to the beach, spending the day there. And this was a particularly hot day. It was maybe high 80s, low 90s, and it was just me, my mom, my aunt, and my brother. And, everybody was kind of doing their own thing. I was kind of just listening to music the entire time or whatever I was doing. And my idiot self didn't put sunscreen on my face. This is mistake number 1. I covered the rest of my body, but not my face. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was having to use the bathroom. So this is a pretty big beach, keep in mind. It was a really nice beach too. Very, very high quality sand. The water was nice. Even though I didn't go in it, it just looked nice. But it was a clean beach, very clean beach. And I live near the ocean, and there's some beaches near me that are pretty disgusting, but there are also some beaches that are very nice too. So, I tell my mom, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I also had just gotten a new pair of shoes, which also, this is the one and only time I wore them. But they were these gray Vans. I was like, you know what? I don't want to ruin them. I'm just going to leave them over here. I'm going to walk. So I walk all the way to the bathroom, and it's a pretty good distance. It's maybe 500 feet, probably longer. It took me maybe 3 minutes to actually walk to the bathroom. But I get in, go to the bathroom, wash my hands, start walking back. Maybe a quarter of the way there, I start to notice my feet hurt. And it feels like pinching. I'm like, given I'm walking on asphalt, so I'm assuming, you know what, I'm probably just stepping on rocks, whatever. So then I get to the actual beach, and there's I guess a wood plank, I don't know what the heck it's called, an incline, to walk onto the beach. Because, that's maybe a 5-foot incline. You walk up it, boom, you're on the beach. And my feet are pinching between the woods, and I'm like, or between the wood. I'm like, why do my feet hurt? And then I get off, step on the sand, and my feet start to burn. I'm like, ow, this sucks. So then, whatever, I sit back down, do my business. Not do my business, but, put my headphones back in. I think maybe I fell asleep for a little bit. And then we left maybe 20, 30 minutes later. We were there for maybe 2 hours. But we get into the car. We're all covered with sand. I'm miserable. And this time I did put my shoes on, and I don't think I've ever experienced this much pain while putting on shoes. And even walking with them, if I felt a pinching feeling. But we get into the car, I look into the mirror, and immediately I notice my face is sunburnt. Immediately I'm like, okay, well, my face is sunburnt, this sucks. So I get home, I get in the shower, everything hurts. My feet still hurt. I just, at this point, I'm assuming maybe I have a splinter or whatever. And my face is clearly burnt. And I thought, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna ignore this, not clean my face, I guess, because it's beet red and hurts. So I get out of the shower, I tell my mom, like, listen, my face is super sunburnt and it hurts very badly. And she tells me, all right, just put on some aloe vera, or however you say it. I know I always say it improperly and people laugh, but whatever. But she told me, like, every time you go to the bathroom, just put some on your face, rub it in, and then when you shower, just wash it off. And then finally, I walk into my room, and this is just, my feet are really starting to hurt. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna look at my feet and see what the heck happened. I look at the bottom of my feet. I lift my right foot first, and I have a huge blister on the top of my foot, right below my toes, that spanned from the left side of my foot all the way to my right side of my foot. And it was probably an inch thick. It was huge. And I was like, well, this is glorious. And I lift my left foot, and I have a blister that is bigger than the one on my right foot. This time it's more slanted, like a half X, and it's maybe almost twice as big, and not as thick, but it's longer. And I'm just like, well, this is awesome. And I ended up just laying down for the rest of the day. I went to bed, whatever. I didn't think too much of it. Woke up the next day, went to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and my face is even more red than it was yesterday. And there's a giant boil right below my left eye. I mean, it wasn't giant, but you could notice it. And my forehead was also blistered. There's a fairly, probably the size, maybe half the size of a penny, right above my right eyebrow. And I'm like, this just sucks. So then the entire day, every time I'm going to the bathroom, I'm putting the aloe vera on my face. And it sucks putting it on because it burns. Like, even dabbling it on your face is just like, ow, this hurts. And, you know, I'm probably going to get made fun of for this, but I wear Crocs around the house. I don't wear them in public, but I wear them around the house. I never wear them in public, but I wear, they're comfortable and they're viable. They're just the normal, they're just the normal black Crocs, whatever. And those Crocs saved my feet for the entire month. So I would put the stuff on my face every time I would go to the bathroom, and eventually when I took a shower later that night, I was trying to clean my face a little bit, not with product, but just make sure I get all the oil. Well, I guess you would probably want oils in your skin if you have a sunburn, but oh my goodness, my face was just covered in aloe vera, just layers and layers. It took maybe 5 minutes to actually clean this freaking stuff off my face. And that sunburn probably lasted for an entire month on my face. Probably not a whole month. Yeah, no, there's no way it was a whole month. But it was there for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, at the very least. And my feet blisters kind of swelled down a little bit. Remained wearing Crocs exclusively. And eventually one day they popped. Well, like on purpose, I popped them because they were filled with pus. I know you're not really supposed to do that, but I did it anyways. And but got rid of that. I think I bandaged them up on both my feet. Or I got the one on my right foot. I think the one on my left foot eventually just swelled down much quicker than the one on the right. That's why I popped the one on the right, because the one on the left was already kind of situated. So I bandaged it up, and that's it. That's the story of the worst sunburn I've ever got. I learned my lesson too, and if you're one of those people who thinks they're too cool for sunscreen, listen. Skin cancer is not a joke. And if you don't use sunscreen, you can get sun cancer. Or not sun cancer, but skin cancer. And I feel like it's something people don't really think will harm them too much. The sun, that is. Or not using sunscreen. But let me tell you, if you want to end up with giant blisters on your feet and on your face and having to walk around on the sides of your feet, then use sunscreen. Because you will regret it, as I did. And even last summer, I think it was the first time I spent like the whole day in the sun. And what did I do? I didn't put sunscreen on my face and my whole face got sunburnt. But with this summer coming up, I'm ready. I have a whole repertoire of sunscreens ready to tackle the sun. Even tanning can be bad for you. I know tanning booths are absolutely not good, but even just sitting in the sun is supposedly not good for you. This is just something I read. I could be totally just making this up. I don't know how true it is, but I mean, it makes sense. I don't think you really want to expose yourself to a whole lot of sun for too long. I'm sure even with sunblock, it can still be dangerous. But that's my sunburn story. Anyways, with that being said, you're listening to Morning by the Coast, a weekly podcast brought to you every Monday morning, courtesy of both YouTube and SoundCloud. If you'd like to follow my website, which you can use to stay updated on all the latest and greatest news regarding Morning by the Coast, whether it's delays in the episode or plans for that week's episode in regards to topics, you can feel free to head over to that, which is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Once again, it's morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. If you'd like to email me any questions, comments, or any general feedback whatsoever, you can email me at mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, that is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. I had a lot of fun filming this week's episode. I feel like I shared a couple interesting stories. Definitely, I feel like this is probably the strongest episode that I filmed so far. Definitely top 10%. Anyways, also next week will be my movie review for Star Wars The Last Jedi. Just making sure you know that. Anyways, with that being said, you're listening to Morning by the Coast, and I'll see you again soon.